the whole mantra. For 8 minutes. But next round will not be 8 minutes. So artificial, mechanical chanting is not required. It is monotonous. But just like when we get excited, we chant fast. When we become so sober, we will chant slowly. And it will take more than 15 minutes per round. We do not know what happens to the mind, where it will go, and we may not remember even after one round is finished. Now, make is sincere effort rather than a serious, stubborn nature of chanting. How are we feeling comfortable in every round? That should be the measure. Rather than, one round faster, another slow, then you try to make 2 hours. Oh, actually it takes 2 hours, they say. So about 7.5 minutes multiplied by 16, you get. So you become, so much mechanically, adjusting yourself, it is not natural. Japa, the best in association of the devotees. While the japa is an individual spiritual discipline, it is advisable to do in association of the devotees. We hardly have opportunity to chant because we are so busy. While doing japa busy, we are overburdened with other activities. So, devotees find it difficult. But even in difficult time, your determination is to chant regularly because you are trying to give importance, equal importance to other activities too. Japa early morning. Japa should be done early in the morning, ideally during the Brahma Muhurta time. If that time is not possible, it should be done at least earliest thereafter. Means in the regular practice, before 10 o'clock you must finish the japa. But after Brahma Muhurta you get about almost 3 hours. They say, yes, Brahma Muhurta means it is very important for tranquility. And the devatas rise, the devotee and deities are also rising up during that time. It is very auspicious time. So we glorify the holy name. By that time means the deities are also getting glorified. So chanting japa is ideally to be done before sunrise. After sunrise, more of passion grows. So naturally, passionate nature want to, just trying to manage the timing. Japa is not to be a matter of management. It's springing right from the heart. And where is the need of management there? But after sunrise, you need to manage. And if you drag on the japa, it is extremely difficult to finish the rounds during the whole day. Then you enter into the mode of ignorance when the sun sets. That chanting is not at all conducive. So we have to give some priority, and the discipline is also coming as a priority, and we are not given alternatives other than the best time of chanting japa, which is called Brahma Muhurta. At that time, whether you have taken bath or not doesn't matter, because the holy name is very important. Suppose if you go brush your teeth, go to toilet, then take bath and then dress and the whole Brahma Murti will be passed on. Then what is the use? Better start chanting without going through the externalities of because the predominance of the most important activity is japa, and it cannot be underestimated. Sometimes when we realize how quickly our life is passing by, we begin to analyze, where am I going? These are the good thoughts, where am I going and what direction I'm moving towards. Because as we know, everybody by nature has to have some goal, some aspiration in the life. So, all these activities, during the daytime, we put up in a priority list, and if we are not able to accomplish it, then we question ourselves, then are we doing right, wrong? Sometimes we get caught up in immediate goals, and sometimes we even hear an expression. I'm just taking it from day to day. Means as the day comes, I put my priority. It means I'm not on a constant paradigm. The goal is simply to make it to the next day, and usually just to make it the next day means just so I can survive. Japa is not a survival kit. It is eternal. There is no question of survival. You are eternal and you are performing eternal activities. But to drag as a mechanical as the day comes, I will perform my japa. It means I will be ready to succumb to the circumstances rather than I will willingly want me to transcend the circumstances. So, this is called Hridaya Granthi. Okay, तुमने तेरा लोग तो समझ कर लिए।
बाकी वैसा करना।
All right. So the idea is here. We cannot drag on and give an alibi and excuse. But as we know, by practicing Krishna consciousness and by chanting the holy name, we are supposed to establish the higher goals than that. Higher goal. Nate vidu swadhati Vishnu durashaya varirarthamamina. Andayatha andayre opaniya manasti ishatantram urudamni bhajya. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted their teacher or guru as single or divine man attached to the external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and to engage in service of Lord Krishna. Anda yatha andai. A blind man leads other blind only to fall in ditch. So that is the Pishatantra. Pishatantra means the tight bondage. Tantra means the tight bind. It's a knot. Pishatantra means repeatedly. If you keep on tying the knot over the knot, that is going to be strong and strong, and it will not relieve you. The time is passing by very quickly, our lives are passing very quickly. And Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, 17th verse, Ayu harti vaipumsam udyat astam cha yannasau tasyaste yet kshano nita uttam sloka bhartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing the topics of all good personality of God. How is it? If you are engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of Shiva, say Bhagavatam, about all good personality of God, it puts you at least on the eternal platform, eternal activity, where there is no restriction of day and night. Otherwise, externally will be succumb to the effect of day and night. It means ayurati vaipumsa, which is decreasing the lifespan of person. If we are not engaged, here we are getting together only Saturday, Sunday, but only 2 days, as if you are attached to the eternal activity, and the rest of the day is not. But at least in that proportion you are increasing your attachment to eternity rather than temporality. Equations, if you say, oh, 5 days I work hard like an ass, and 2 days I will make it. It's not like that. Krishna, you have only 2 days out of 7. Why are mine? 2 are yours. So Krishna says, okay, I'll reciprocate with only 2. But don't blame me on the other 5 days. So, we need to look into the subject that will bring us more to our real eternity, the life of eternity. That is what you call a gain forever. Otherwise, not a moment which has been spent with Hare Krishna consciousness is going to be regained by billions of dollars. Krishna is the supreme goal of life. That means that the holy name is also the supreme goal of life. Because Krishna and his holy names are identical. Abhinnatvam Rama Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Rama. This is taken from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela, 17th chapter, 133rd verse. That the holy name of Krishna is the transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself. And the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental melodies. And it is not a material name under any condition. And it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. Purna Shuddha, of course, I can understand because it is purifying me. So unless and until if I come in contact with complete pure, there is no way that I can become pure on my own. But Nitya Mukta, the holy name of Lord Krishna is eternally liberated. Because it is not the product of conditioned life of material nature. It is not a product. Golokera Prema Dhana Harinam Sankirtana. It has been imported from Golok Vrindavan. And therefore the significance of this holy name is that it is not bound by the time. It's not bound by the time. Krishna's name. Alright? One who gives importance to Rama, but Rama is only Kalani Yamena Tishtan. Ramadi Murtishu Kalani Yamena Tishtan. Nanavataram Akarat Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Samahumira. This is not written by those who are favoring Krishna over Rama. This is a foolish understanding. The importance of the word Rama is the reservoir of pleasure. But unless and until we are attracted for it, the attraction comes from Krishna, who is all attractive. And therefore, the Rama word is applicable to Krishna. Otherwise, you see the character of Lord Rama. He, shocked. Who got in Anand? Materialist that became totally failure. One has to become transcendental in nature to understand that Lord Ramchandra has been playing all the important activity in this avatar for his own pleasure, not for somebody else's pleasure. And Sita knew this is the internal pleasure of Lord Ramchandra. Paritrana sadhuna vinashaya dushkrutam karma samsthanam samsavami. I will help my Lord. I will serve him in such a way that it will give pleasure to him. This is the reservoir of pleasure. But he never gave the pleasure to anybody else. Sita has to go through grilling, tests, so severe. At that time, Lord Ramchandra's name is never criticized. Then what kind of Rama is there who doesn't give pleasure to even Sita? No. We have to understand the transcendental nature of the Lord Rama. Ramanti yogina satyanande chidatmani iti ramapadena shubhara brahma vidiyate. Even the yogis who are meditating within their heart to seek out the pleasure, that Rama is a reservoir of pleasure. And that is Paramatma, the feature of Lord Krishna. In Rama Avatar, the word Rama is never to be compromised with the purpose of the devotee's pleasure. The Lord came on his own volition as a son of Dasarath to take up the command of his father, but deprived the father from the pleasure. He died desperately in separation of Rama. Who did he give pleasure? To Rama? No way. To Sita? No way. But yes, he is around the pleasure. He restricted the pleasure aspect because it is not ideal for a human being to become unrestricted pleasure seeking. Anandamayobhyasat, the Lord is Anandamaya and is realized as Anandamaya. But in the character of Ramchandra, where is that Ananda? His activities are so divine that ordinary people cannot understand the transcendental nature of Lord Ramchandra. But the character of Lord Krishna, the Kru Dhatu means all supportive element, and Ra means all pleasure giving element. It is already embedded there. And Krishna's internal potency, Ladini Shakti, is Radharani, and she is always there to serve him, to give him pleasure. And to experience the highest pleasure is in childhood pastimes, very innocent. And that was the desire for Devaki and Vasudeva. So the idea is that when we address Ram, Ram is the primary name, but that applies to Balaram also, and that is Krishna's second expansion, second body. How does Balaram gives pleasure to Krishna? Balaram is the embodiment of Sandhini potency. Just like Radharani is the embodiment of Ladini potency, Balaram is servitorship, existential truth. He manifests spiritual world as well as material world and sustains to show the proof, but both the energies he uses are different. So, when marginal energy, the Jiva Tattva, is pleasure seeking, because he is an ansh of Lord Krishna, who is the reservoir of all pleasure. Only Krishna claims, Mamaiva Amsha Jiva. Ramchandra did not say anything about it. Neither all devatas ever speak about the Jiva Tattva's relationship with them. Nothing. They are also Jiva Tattva. But avatars of Swamshas, not within Amshas like us. Krishna's own explanations. So, when we study this, Nama Chintamani Krishnasya Nama Chintamani. The holy name of Lord Krishna is acting like Chintamani. Chintamani means, Chinta means to think. Mani means it produces the valuable jade. Simply by thinking of the name of Krishna, you receive the jade. What a close manifestation. Sanatana Goswami was very famous. That even though he was a sadhu, and people know that he has a gem, but he is keeping that gem hidden in the garbage pit. So one greedy person came to him, "My dear sir, I have heard that you are keeping most valuable gem in the heap of the garbage. Why do you keep? If you do not need, why don't you give it away? I need it. And Sanatana Goswami said, be my guest, take it. And that person, greedy person, went and made him dirty just to get the gem. And he got it. And he bowed down to Sanatana Goswami, thank you very much. And he went away. But then a second thought came in his mind. If this valuable gem is put in garbage pit, there must be more valuable with him. So he came back to Sanatana Goswami. I got this doubt. Do you have more valuable than this? Sanatana Goswami, of course, yes. Can I have that? Then Sanatana said, you better throw this away and I'll give you that. So he threw away. Sanatana Goswami said, take this holy name, it is more valuable. That is called Namachinta. Take and you get it. Sparshmani, you have to take it and touch it. There is no need of an activity here. Chant, and you get it. It is Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Chaitanya is full of life, full of consciousness. And Rasa Vigraha means it is so palatable that all the kinds of rasas are involved in it. Our tongue is tasting how many? 5 different kinds of rasas. Salty, bitter, sweet, flat, whatever it is. That kind of rasas are there. But the holy name is itself made up of. The Vigraha means manifestation of the body, embodiment. Oh, the holy name, Krishna and Krishna, they are so identical. There is no difference between them. Krishna's body is so much attractive, so much pleasing. So much relishable. You know. So much fragrance, so much sweetness oozing even from the toenail of Lord Krishna. That is the holy name. Purna Shuddha, it is perfect and completely pure. Nitya Mukta, it is eternally liberated because it is not made up of material sounds. It's a spiritual sound. Because spiritual name and the spiritual personality are identical. Abhinatvanani. There is no bhinnata, means separates between the holy name and the possessor of the holy name, Krishna. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Prabhupada said, this chant itself is manifesting as Krishna dancing on your tongue. Krishna is dancing on your tongue. So, you cannot say anything about any other avatar's name. Of course, they are all Krishna's avatars. But as he is, to be understood, chant the holy name. You will know who the avatari is and how he manifests everything. All the potencies of the holy name are revealed to the chanter. It means the transcendental sound vibration, if you just take you will get the same result. You take anybody's name, it will not be that much effective. So in the age of Kali, if you want to get rid of Kali, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur sang a song, Kali kukura kadana yadi chaho. Then always chant Sri Sachidananda Nagao. Like that. If you want to get rid of the Kali's dog, Kukuru dog, otherwise the dog is barking and it is not pleasant at all. Neither you can equate. But the dog is a dog and he is known by barking. But it is neither Purna Shuddha, Nitya Mukta, nothing. So we need to develop taste for the holy name. And that will only come when your tongue becomes wet. Chanting Hare Krishna will never make your tongue dry. Never. Holy name, you appear in two forms, Vachyam and deity form of the Supreme Lord. And Vachakam, your transcendental name. Of these two, we consider the form of the holy syllable to be infinitely more compassionate than from the form of a deity. Here we have Sri Sri Radha Govinda deity. Many people come pleasure. But if you choose holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, regularly and come and see the deity. It will make a gulf of difference. Induction of the holy name of the Lord is the very first and foremost, process. But what are the circumstances by which one can be forgiven for his offense to the holy name? How do we chant? With what attitude are we chanting? We cannot become oblivious when we are presenting ourselves before the holy name. It's a holy name, it's a holy name, it's a holy name. It's simple. Mumbo jumbo, mumbo jumbo. These people will not. But if you approach Lord Krishna directly, what kind of attitude and etiquette you will have to show? In that etiquette is applied by chanting Hare Krishna. Then it will make a meaning. That is Shuddha Nama. It is coming towards that. What is one's attitude? And why does one chant the holy name? One of the differences between Namabhas and Namaparad is that on the platform of Namabhas, one is trying to become free from his offenses. And it is also said that one who chants on the platform of Namabhas commits offenses due to weaknesses of heart, Hridaya Daurbalyam and ignorance. Namabhas chanting is that because we have some tight knots of ignorance which has been lying in the bottom of our heart, and it is not yet broken. The knots are not slashed. So out of foolishness and bewilderment one chants the holy name of the Lord and still commits some offenses, then the Lord takes his attitude into consideration. Even with the pure and sincere heart, if we have a slip of tongue, never mind. But if you chant to impress upon somebody, let's say audience, with that attitude, then what is the value of such chant? So like that. What is your attitude towards chant? Because person in ignorance just doesn't know better, and a person who is weak in his heart, it is not that he is utilizing the holy name to fulfill some other motivations and some other purposes. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the differences between the Chaya Namabhas and Pratibimba Abhas, Namabhas. Chaya means shadow and Pratibimba means reflection. Actually, there are three definitions of Abhas. Abhas means like a shadow. I'm chanting the holy name, but not to call out the Supreme Lord, but Abhasi, because I'm accustomed. It's mechanical chanting. So it is called Abhasi name. The holy name is self-effulgent, like Surya Sun. Well, Abhas is obstructions either through mist of ignorance or clouds of anarthas. The shadow. It is not purely holy name. An effulgent object gives light that creates a shadow. Similarly, the holy name of the Lord itself is effulgent, but it also creates shadow. A shadow is a reflection on a dead matter. The light does not permeate through, so it creates a shadow, absence of light. And the shadow which is referred to as Chayanamabhas is when the person either out of bewilderment or foolishness chants the holy name of the Lord with offenses. But he is trying to become free from his offenses. So the attitude is also to be checked. But Pratibimbanamabhas means that a person is very much attached either to bhoga, sense enjoyment, sense gratification, or to liberation. He is so much attached that he wants to use the holy name of the Lord to fulfill his materialistic goal. This is called Pratibimbanamabhas. The light is there, but ignorance makes the darkness, does not permeate the light. His goal is not Krishna. His goal is not Krishna. His goal is either liberation, like the impersonalist who may also chant Hare Krishna, or he may simply want some material gain. Therefore, the word Pratibimba is used in the means of reflections. There are devotees who are chanting or make a show of chanting for material gains. Oh yes, chanting 16 rounds is not a problem. Prabhu, can you give me commission on that membership? That's Pratibimba. Just like the sun may come through the clouds after burning through the clouds. And we may see reflection of the light on the water, but reflection is all distorted. Similarly, the pure holy name is reflected on the materialistic mentality. We will see how distorted his approach to the holy name is. That materialistic mentality means that one wants to engage the holy name of the Lord to fulfill his own material goals. His goals are all in the material world, and his goal is not Krishna. Even Krishna says, I have created everything, but I am not in that. How can he remain independent even after creating so much? It's called Swarat. Tene Brahmaradaya Adikave Mugyanti Yatsudeya Tejo Adinudavita Vinimaya Trisargam Prasad Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kohatam Satyam Pavanti. Krishna is so transcendental, transparent, nobody can find any fault in him. Only the Mayavadis who are envious, because of their enviousness, they cannot chant purely. Their aim is different. They want to compare themselves that they are Krishna. Not. You don't have to surrender to that Krishna who is speaking through Bhagavad Gita. No, but one who is speaking in that body. It's like that. So, his goal is not Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that such a person can never get love of Godhead, can never chant the Shuddha Naam, pure holy name of the Lord. Shuddha Naam is our goal, because we will be able to taste the oozing of that love of Godhead. If we are not chanting Shuddha Naam, we will not the love of God. It will be all abhasi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that only by some great fortune, either by the mercy of great powerful Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, or by the mercy of the Lord, can one chant with this mentality ever come to the platform of pure love of Godhead. He says, but it is very rare. Bahunam Brahmanam Te Jnanamam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sundara. Out of many human births, a Jnani, when he finally surrenders unto me, thinking that Vasudeva is all in all, then that Mahatma is very rare. But Chaya Namapas means shadow. A person who chants on the platform of Chaya Namapas is not motivated to fulfill his materialistic goals. He is just weak, and out of weakness he commits offenses to the holy name, but he wants to become free from these offenses. He has to come out from Chaya Namapas. But he doesn't know how to come out from it. He has to chant in association with the devotees, senior devotees, and then he will be able to come out. Alone, no, he doesn't have any intention, because he still is having his weakness and is committing offenses. Hriday Daurbalyam, that is called, weaknesses of the heart. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if one wants to get off this platform of Namaprad, there are three things required. He says that one has to associate with more advanced devotees of the Lord and chant Hare Krishna in their association. And one has to try to remove himself from all distracting elements both externally and internally. He tries to remove himself from distracting elements internally by trying to become free from his anarthas. That is, he looks about his own anarthas which are sitting in his heart, and then he becomes determined and gains inspiration from the senior and devotees, and he will be able to get rid of those anarthas. And he tries to remove himself from external distraction by controlling his environment, where he chants Hare Krishna mantra. Pranadati sunichena tanorapi shreshna amanina manadina kirtanya sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. This is a fact. So we have to cultivate, we have to meditate on this instruction, and try to mold ourselves and as far as possible. But it will happen practically in association with the devotees, not otherwise. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that this verse corresponds to a person who is on a platform of Nishtha Bhakti, Nishtita Bhakti. And what are the characteristics of Nishtita Bhakti? As described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there are 5 internal obstacles that one has to overcome in order to become situated on the platform of Nishtiti Bhakti. Nishtiti. The first is laya, means sleep, which is the tendency to fall asleep and increasing level of platform of Kirtan, Shravana and Smara. Remove laya. We have to save ourselves from laya, sleep. Because in Kirtan we may not fall asleep so easily, although it happens. And especially in the class, it happens. But then Shravana, hearing, has a greater tendency to fall asleep. Shravana. And then of course, Marana, perfect control of the mind, has even greater tendency to fall asleep. How we are not able to remember Krishna all the time, which is the cardinal principle of following any religion. Satatam smartavyam Vishnu vismartavyam na jatuchit sarva vidhi nishedosyu etoyoreva kinkar. We, just to remember Krishna, we employ so many different kinds of even tricks to remember. That's subservient. Shravanam, Kirtanam. They are subservient to Smarana. But other also, Vandanam, Archanam, Pujanam also. Then the last 3.
Dasyam Vandanam Atmadik. Dasyam
Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. That's subservient. Everything is subservient just to remember Krishna. Remembrance is the most important. We intensify all these activities just to remember Krishna. We celebrate. We just celebrate Janmashtami. But our entire aspect of our activity was somehow remember Krishna. But if you take into account how much remembrance of Krishna was there. You'll be surprised that we hardly remember Krishna, but we want to engage in gross activity that will please Him. The smarana has to be intensified in the activity of pleasing Krishna. Always think of Krishna. Never forget for a moment. To fall asleep means to forget. To fall asleep means to forget. When we chant Hare Krishna, our weaknesses will make us forget the purpose of chanting Krishna, is to remember Krishna. And we keep on chanting. So that becomes very mechanical. It should not. And those who are not properly disciplined, they said, why Maharaj is talking all these things? I always remember Krishna in my mind. I'm thinking about him, going about him. Oh yeah, I remember Krishna. If you remember Krishna, you would not be amongst us. You'll be transcending the material platform. But unfortunately, if it is not, then we should retract and start all over again. Material world is also distracting. All the vishayas that are of gratification are distracting us from remembering Krishna. Vikshep means distraction. That means the tendency to be distracted while performing kirtan or performing japa. Example is given, just sometimes people may, instead of chanting in the association of so many devotees, they may chant some other place where they can go back and forth and talk as to teach others. They are easily distracted towards something else. Even though on the strength of chanting we get distracted. Because we don't have developed the right attitude towards the holy name. Then these things are going to happen. But Thakur also says that one has to actually remove himself from distractions externally. In other words, we should not chant in a place which is going to remind us of so many things that we have to do. Sometimes devotees will chant with a notebook right in front of them and just look at the notebook, waiting for something to come up. The excuse they usually use is that if I have my notebook, I can write it down and I can forget about it. Write it down, so I'll remember later, but hardly he opens up. There is no question of meditation on the holy name in this circumstance. The third is apratipatti, when both laya and vikshep are absent, but one still feels incapable of or disinterested in the hearing and chanting, etc. The fourth, kshaya or kashaya, is the tendency to display anger, greed and arrogance during devotional activity. The fifth, rasa swa, means the mind is attached to the sense pleasure, often meditating on it. That other is unable to chant with concentration. We reflect our opinion on how others are chanting, but at the same time, we forget to reflect on our own chanting. So rasavas. That is a mixed phenomenon opposing each other. When the removal of this obstacle, the devotee makes progress towards nishtha or steady devotion. These are some of the anarthas that have been developed by ignorance of the efficacy of the holy name, plus unwanted thing in our life we neglected to remove. They are still harbored, and then we commit aparat. But up to the point of anartha nivrutti, if we keep on failing, then there is no sukha coming. There is no steady devotion, steady sthai. When nishtha bhakti blossoms in the devotee's consciousness, the immediate effect is that it is no longer ruled by anger, greed, or any other influences from the modes of passion and ignorance. His ignorance is removed. But what it means, we have to keep a watchful, attitude towards the holy name. If the will be able to make definite progress, and otherwise difficult. The Naistiki Bhakta becomes firmly fixed in the Supreme Lord, who is always situated in pure goodness and experiences divine bliss. This Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this first second chapter, 19th verse. And Tadarajastamo Bhava Karamalopadashte Cheta Etena Navidam Stitam Sattve Prasiddhati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, not heat, heart, the effects of the natural mode of passion, nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust and desire and hankering, disappear from his heart. Then the devotee is establishing in goodness and he becomes completely happy. The words Cheta Etarana Viddham establishes that through the possession or to the passion and ignorance are present, the mind is no longer affected by them, and the devotee steady progresses towards Bhava Bhakti. So we would like to stop here. Anybody has any question?
So Maharaj, Namabhas with Aparadha is the only route to go through, right, for chanting, for pure chanting.
Right. So the Abhasini gives us a guarantee for liberation, but not for love of God. Love means what kind of attitude do you have? Our attitude changes in the material, and because there are so many subjects that distracts us, our attitude changes. But this should not happen with the Lord. When our attitude becomes intensified at every progressive steps into devotion, means our consciousness is well focused only for pleasure of Lord Krishna. We are performing devotion. So it becomes a very strong desire that is cultivating and he become more aware. What is higher taste? The taste of prasadam is the same, but still there is something higher. How are you going to taste it? The exchange between the Lord and you. Sambandha. If it is loving, your attitude of love will become steady. It will not fluctuate by interference of many obstacles. You will shun it off. So asakti means the greed will be developed. Then the bhava and the prema. So Krishna is Purna Shuddha Nitya Mutta Abhindatvam Nama Namino. But Rasamurti is Rasamurti. All the mellows are there and we can exchange with him and reciprocation. So that is only available in the platform of Golu Vrindava. Nowhere else. Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu. Akhila total. Rasamrita. Rasa means mellows, the taste. Amrita, which are eternal. And is the reservoir of all that. So Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu is Krishna. And Rupa Goswami and others also, when translated, they mentioned this is nothing but Akhila Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. It's just a drop. Krishna is the reservoir of all the mercy which are sweet. And we are so tiny, one bindu is also enough because of the same quality. But all the ingredients are the same. And one has to establish, based on his ability to come out, overcome the obstacles of Namaparad, even Dhammaparad, everything will come into this. What is your attitude in chanting Hare Krishna? Concentrate on that. Good.
Guru Maharaj, if somebody has no material desire and is chanting the holy name, he is on a pure platform. As compared to that, the another person has material desire, but he does not act upon it. So why is he not feeling the same bliss as the other person?
There might be some a calculated risk involved, and if somebody is using the calculated risk, but there are so many material impediments that even though he is desiring, and because the limited time one has, everything, the time and time, we just read that rising of the sun, decreases the lifespan of everything. So similarly, the calculated risk should not be of long duration. Otherwise, he is fooling himself. He's trying to fool others. He cannot take indefinite time. Oh, time is also Krishna. But what is the function? Ayodhati Vaikuntha. Simply it is good. And that is not positive devotional service. The attitude is not. I have my own plan, but Krishna has his own plan. Anything else?
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. It was very nice. This is the first injection of the 5 days.
So much detail is studied. You can see the sources. Gaurav Maharaj and Swami is told within our lifetime they have expressed all this thing. Very nicely compiled, very detailed compilation.
So this Guru Maharaj, I feel like this give us also, if I go through this course, it feels like inside that it increased my motivation, and then it also let me measure myself where I am, okay, what I am doing through this etiquette or sadhana. Where do I stand? I can measure myself by talking this, or where I need to go.
But it's a self test.
Yeah, self-test.
And if you take it to the self only, then use the same guidelines to improve it. Or take association, physical association of the devotees, Indian devotees, and try to, improvise your activities. Then how they do. Association is essential.
So, yes, Vedavyasapriya Swami ki.
Yeah. Guru Maharaj,
Ah,
so in the Ajamil there is a dialogue between Vishnu Duta and Yam Dutas, and they were telling Yam Dutas that, the holy name is such a good thing that it's kind of like a medicine, whether people know it or don't know it, but if you get it, it works. So, unfortunately, Srila Prabhupada didn't have purport for this sloka, but it says that Sankirtana Parihasyam va Stobam Helanam eva va Vaikuntanam Grahanam Ases Agaha Param Vidu. And the translation says, one who chants the holy name of Lord is immediately freed from reaction of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all learned scholars of the scriptures.
that's okay.
Yeah, and I am not saying that, but I guess it does relieve you from the. When I was going to ask you, I just realized it just relieves you from the sins, but you may not give the love for Krishna.
That's good, but at the same time, this conversation between Yamdutas and Vishnudutas, put Ajamil back on his attitude towards the holy name. He immediately got up and went to her work.
Right.
See the attitude? Principle is, but how are we putting the attitude towards the Holy Name? Attitude we have to change for the better.
Because it says agaha haram, so all the path or
That
sins
they
will go,
will be taken
but
away.
you will not get the devotional service or prema to Krishna.
Prema is different. Ajamil went to Vaikuntha, Dhruv went to Vaikuntha, but they knew that the prema is the higher, you know. But the Lord says, I'm sorry, not this time. You asked and you got it. You are stuck with it.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. The Lord is there to fulfill your desires, after all. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai.
Swami Maharaj ki jai.
If you had done PCR testing, you would have been positive.
I don't have any symptoms.
Right now, the symptoms are very mild nowadays. That somebody who is symptom
Not really one of the way in that speak. College and
आपने बोले ना वृंदावन में
10 हो गए।
મને એક સવાલ કરો તો મને શરમ આવતી હોય. આપણે લાઉડ ચેન્ટિંગ સારું કે ક્વાઇટ ચેન્ટિંગ સારું? આપણે ઉઠવે તે સારું.
कीर्तन वगैरह कंट्रोल इसको बता
ઓકે તો લાઉડ ગમે તે સારું.
लाभ है कि बिजाने के सब अपने समय पे तो लाभ करेंगे आज बात बदमान होना
ઓકે
સંભળાય છે દેવોની જન્મ
ना ना आपको जन्म पहला जन्म है पैसे भी जाना
આટલો
મારે તો પેલો રૂમ છે ને મંદિરનો રૂમ અલગ છે.
हाँ तो
એટલે મને પણ આદત છે ને જોડવા કરવાની આદત છે. એટલે મારું દર વખતે એ મને સાથે આવી ગયું કે તને કોઈ એટલી કરું કે અમારા વચ્ચે બહુ અંદર એ થઈ ગયું છે.
માનસિક તો
અને આપણે ચેન્ટિંગ કરતા તો હું મંદિર પાસે બેઠ્યો અને માતાને જોતી હતી, કૃષ્ણને જોતી તો આઈ ઓપન સારી કે ક્લોઝ કરી
આપણે લાલા નથી જવાના, આપણે માળા નહીં જોવાનું. લાલા જુદા, માળા 4-5 પછી લીધો.
બીજા કોઈ સવાલ છે? કારણ કે હું અત્યારે મને છે ને કન્વેન્શનમાં જાઉં એટલે મને મોસ્ટલી 6 કામ કરવું પડે ક્યાંથી આવું એટલે મોડું થઈ જાય તો ઘર સુધી ગુરુ હા ઘર
Krishna, Hare Hare. That's what I'm going for. Sorry, I look home. ચાલતી કે આમ કે who's going to look for what is again? So if I stumble, you just help me. But I managed. And then Grandfather,
huh?
spasm thing.
It's completely different. Kapila being liya party then someone
Ibuprofen this one.
I'm not allowed to do that. Like, I don't have blood pressure or cholesterol. But one thing my doctor said, if you take Advil as ibuprofen, it makes anybody's blood pressure go up. So I take Tylenol. I take Tylenol.
No, but ibuprofen yeah, it is blood pressure. Yeah, you should take it. I'll bring it. હું જોઉં છું અહીંયા હોય તો એના એક જ દિવસમાં you start walking better. Doesn't raise the blood pressure. Those people who are having blood pressure, they should not.
পাশেটাও করে ফেলছি,
ফেলে দিয়েছেন
পাশে পাশে রেখেছি,
এই
কিন্তু লাইটটা অফ করতে পারিনি।
এইখান দিয়ে অফ করে দিয়েছে।
ও ওই জন্য খুশি ছিল। আর মন্ত্র করতে করতেছিলাম না, আমার তো মন্ত্র মনে নেই।